Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. As you can see, our tiger buddy is now fully deflated, has been taken down and is being packed up and is going to be taken away. So he was here for a week or so, a lot of fun, but here we are, a brilliant summer day here in Sydney to help get us to the end of summer. It's the 22nd today, it's Monday, first day of the work week. So what we'll do is we'll go on a walk and talk and go on and discuss a book summary that I read on the bus this morning. And the book is entitled The Happiness Project. The Happiness Project by an author named Gretchen Rubin. What a name, Gretchen Rubin. Anyway, I think we're all starting to learn now that the days are long, but the years are short. It's almost at the end of summer. It was just like yesterday that 2021 commenced, and already we're through a sixth of the year. But it's a glorious day, so let's make the most of it. Let's make the most of the sunshine, the blue sky, and this wonderful harbour. So this author here is all about how we get the most out of our lives and how do we become and remain happy and healthy. So the first point to come out of this book is that we need to undergo a mental and physical cleanup. Both mental and physical clutter are what is dragging. So clean your house and clean your brain is the simple message which comes from this book. Because clutter weighs heavy and takes up mental energy, because every item has an allocated spot in your brain. And if you don't deal with it and you keep it there, then it weighs on you. It weighs on your soul, it weighs on your day, it weighs on your happiness. So the key message from this book is to declutter your house and declutter your brain, because when you start decluttering, you will notice a strong relief of stress in your head and in your body, believe it or not. And it's called the Zeigarnik effect. I've never heard of this before, but the Zeigarnik effect, and even though we haven't heard about it, we've often felt it and noticed it. The Zeigarnik effect is where our brains continue to nag to us about an unfinished task. And even from years ago, doesn't matter how long ago it was, when you decided to do something, when you added something to your mental task list, and you haven't completed it, then what happens is that your brain, through this Zeigarnik effect, will continue to nag you at the subconscious level, and you'll feel a sense of incompleteness. You'll feel a sense of panic. You'll feel a sense of constant worry, and you won't know what causes it. But according to this author here, the thing that causes it is that you've committed to something, to someone, and you haven't delivered, and yet your brain hasn't been told, or you haven't achieved closure in order for you to move on and get on with your life. And hence why a lot of the time you hear the word closure. And the reason why the reason why our soul, our brain, our minds need closure is to allow us to move on, to grow, develop, and to open up to new experiences. Else we'd be continually nagged by our brain and put under pressure in order to complete. And the reason for this, I've learned from another book summary that I read, is that we humans are teleological in nature. Once you start something, or once you open something, once you think about something, then we're compelled to complete it, or at least close the loop. Else we just feel uncomfortable and we have a cognitive dissonance which impacts our OCD and impacts the way we behave for many, many years. And as the author says, even from years ago, it can still impact you today. So make a point when you make a commitment, when you say something is happening, just deliver it. Before I go on, I've just noticed that on the harbour bridge, the flags are flying at half mast, and the reason for that is that it's happening in New South Wales, that there is a funeral today, a memorial service for a New South Wales government public servant by the name of Ian Anderson, who passed away. So let's continue here. So the next point to come out of this book in terms of happiness is the fact that the author tells us that you simply just can't change your partner. You can only change you. And what you do every day matters more than, let me read the other page, than what you do now and then. Just bear with me. So what the author is saying there is what you do today, or what you consistently do today, tomorrow and every single day, is more important than what you do every now and then. That's a powerful point, because a lot of people think that if they can just be nice every now and then people will think that they're nice people will warm to them. But it's what you do every day. It's what you do every day that impacts your mind, impacts your personality. And the other thing that the book talks about here is that our brains remember negative events faster and deeper than positive ones. So in relationships, it takes 5 positives to correct 1 negative. That's an important one for us married people, for those who have been in relationships for a while, and we've learnt it the hard way, that you need to deliver 5 positive events, 5 positive outcomes to displace a negative outcome. So that's why it's important to build up as many brownie points as you can, and it's not one brownie point to cover off another point. It's 5 to 1. So if you want to be popular with your partner, you want to be popular with your children, if you want to be popular with your workmates, you just got to give more than what you ever hope to receive. So the other key point is, if you want to be happy, you simply need to quit the fighting and the bickering. That fighting and bickering which families have is a hellhole. Because for all that bickering that you do, you need to do 5 times as much of crawling and doing the right thing in order to displace it and to make your partner and make yourself feel better. So the key from what the author is saying here is you need to focus on what you can control and correct where possible the root of the problem, which are your actions and your attitudes, as opposed to trying to correct everybody else around you. So everyday niceties matter more than a big gift once a year. So go out of your way where possible to be as nice, as productive, as positive as you can, because you will find those benefits and you'll be able to appreciate those benefits, is the big lesson from this book. And the last point here is that money is like health. So money won't make you happy, according to the author, but not having enough and not having to worry about it will make your life a lot easier. So, we need to have money and we need to have security in our lives, because if you don't have it, the worry that you go through will always keep you anxious and unhappy. And the last few points from this book is that we always return to our baseline of happiness. This is a key concept. And our baseline of happiness means that even if you win lotto, even if you marry somebody who is extremely wealthy, regardless of how much money, how much comes into your life, how much windfall gain you gain in your life, you will always return to your baseline of happiness. That's why it's important for everybody, when they're dating somebody, when they're looking to get married, to try and understand what that person's baseline of happiness is, and to ask a simple question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? I asked a girl the other day who I work with, and she said she's currently ranking at a 3 out of 10, which I was horrified to hear. Because most people tend to rank themselves as a 6 or a 7 out of 10, and occasionally they can pop up to a 9 or a 10, if they have a really good day or if they have a windfall gain, and then they fall back to that 6 or 7 out of 10. But if you're going out with, if your partner is always miserable, guess what? They're always going to be miserable. There's never going to be a day in their lives where they're going to be a 10 out of 10, because their baseline is set. And they say that a lot of the things about baseline are set at our genetic level, because people are inclined to be happier. People have a physical ability and inclination to fire off pleasure hormones and to think in a certain way and to experience life in a certain way because of their genetic makeup. So it's important to assess yourself and assess those around you to try and gauge whether or not they have a capability of having a higher baseline of happiness. And if they don't, then you may want to consider the amount of time you spent with them. Because if somebody else is always unhappy, always miserable, then you're not going to change that, is the lesson from this book. You can buy them gifts, you can spend money, you can shower them with everything that you can possibly can, and yet they're always going to revert back to their baseline of happiness, regardless of what it is. So I guess the lesson is, hang out with happy people, hang out with people who are positive, hang out with people who are optimistic, because all of these things are clues to what their baseline of happiness is. And if you're optimistic, if you're happy, if you're looking for the good in people, looking for the good in the world, then chances are that you're going to be happy and you're going to have a high baseline of happiness, which you're always going to be coming back to, just like equilibrium in chemistry. You may get happier and you'll come back to where you are, or you may get sadder through a tragedy, but you'll always come back to where you are. So even if you're hit by tragedy, even if your family is hit by tragedy, if you have a relatively high baseline of happiness, then you are always going to bounce back, which is one of the guarantees that this author gives us. Anyway, thank you very much. I think I've gone a little bit longer than what I normally go on these 5 a.m. clubs, but thank you very much for joining me on this book summary of The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. And let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and wherever possible, stay happy. assess your happiness baseline. Assess the baseline of the people around you and try and stay focused, try and stay positive, try and stay optimistic. Do whatever you have to do to maintain your happiness, your joy, by giving to others, by fulfilling your calling, and don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in to the vortex of unhappiness that others have around us, because in many ways that's the way they're wired. They're wired for misery. They're always going to be searching for a problem where there are solutions. They're always going to be causing grief amongst their friends and social circles because of their negative views, because of their constant need to feed their thirst of creating fear, uncertainty and doubt. So that's it for me for today. So thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to coming to you again a little later on my lunch break, where we'll do another book summary and move closer to the 1,000 vlogs, so that I can one day look back and be a member of the 1,000 Vlogger Club. So take care, have a good rest of the day, Sasagapao, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.